This
Okay,
conference
5:30.
will now be recorded.
We'll get started. Planning Commission meeting for September, and we'll call to order.
Tyson Blatchford, Lloyd Colston.
Here.
Brandon Jellings.
Here.
Ian Kuhn. Kyle Lewis.
Here.
Cody Richardson. Dottie Smith.
Here.
And Tom Wheatley.
Here.
We're good.
Okay, good deal. At this time, Planning Commission members are asked to make any declaration of any conflict of interest for today's meeting. And anybody? Okay, we will have public comments. We have a, Josh, you tell us what we have here tonight, 425 West Quincy.
Yeah, we can, unless somebody's here to talk about something that's not already on the agenda. No, okay.
No, it's all about Quincy.
It's all about Quincy, good deal. So we can skip to that.
Okay, anyone wants to make a comment, just state your name, address, and you're limited to 3 minutes, your opinion, and we'll move to the next person.
So we do the minutes first.
Oh, yeah, we got to approve the meeting minutes from August 8th.
And we have to open the public meeting. Okay, I make a motion, we accept the minutes as printed.
Second.
Okay. Minutes are approved.
Well, you have to call for vote. Tom, all in favor?
Oh, okay. All in favor of our meeting minutes from August 8th, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
needs- Thanks, Lloyd. Okay, moving on, public hearing. I want to hear this. Just what I said before. Who wants to go first?
I make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Okay, let's make a motion and open the public hearing.
Second.
Second? Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor, say aye.
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 So I'll go ahead and do my presentation real quick first. So first of all, the request is to rezone this property from R2 to C2. It's filed by both the property owners of Glenna Baker and Verna Welch, who are both here, and Chris Beffert is the purchaser of this property. I believe, Chris, are you here too?
No.
Okay. So the property is at 425 West Quincy. Let me zoom that out. Sometimes when I do these presentations, the resolution changes. So single family is around this property. There is a couple of churches also in the area. The entire property is 11.22 acres, but this is only going to be the north half or so of the property. The project the reason we have to have 2 items of rezone and conditional use is self-storage facility. And that would require a conditional use permit. The sale of the property is contingent upon this approval, just so you know that. As far as some property history, this has actually had quite a few different cases on it over the years. Back in the 60s, part of this property, this little part right here, was actually rezoned to a commercial, a B2 at that time, that is really similar to our current C3. There was also a variance in 2002. In 2014, it was rezoned back to residential, partially because that shop wasn't being used as much, and it was just to kind of clean up when we did that in 2014. The last time that welding shop, according to family, was about 2007. There was also a rezone case that came before the Planning Commission in 2014 that proposed to rezone this to ag. That was actually denied at that time. It was determined that it wasn't actually needed. It was a legal non-conforming use that was allowed to continue. So here we go again. It's trying to do its little zoom. So the future land use map does call for this to be a residential property. The proposed use is a commercial or an industrial use. There isn't any specific thing listed in the comprehensive plan other than this is sort of infill development. Let's see, zoning. So the area, as you can see, is predominantly residential. In fact, it really is all residential in that area. Commercial zoning districts are for compatible commercial and service businesses. Changing for the purpose of this change would meet that intent. The proposed district for this use is the most restrictive district that allows this proposed use, the C2 district. So these are some older pictures. I didn't get a chance to get out and photograph it, but this is Quincy Avenue. It is a gravel road today. Let's see where my mouse will go. And this is just kind of looking back the other direction. This is 5th Street, kind of looking back to the east as well. Now, I would note that this property has undergone some significant cleanup since then. So these are, like I said, some older pictures. So this is an interesting case just for planning commissioners. Normally, I would not recommend something that was a commercial use in a residential area. However, there's a couple things that are interesting in this case. The biggest one is that part of that property was zoned commercial as recently as 2014, right around that shop area. This is a little bit bigger area that we're talking about. I don't know what that was. The other thing is the use that they're proposing requires a conditional use permit, so that will help deal with some of the outside concerns that come with zoning commercially in a residential area. The area has also been kind of underused for a little while. And again, it had been commercial in the past. I believe with the conditional use permit, we can overcome any negative impacts that a self-storage facility might have in this particular neighborhood. So that's all I have to say about that.
I have a question. Have you heard from anyone that is, any citizens that are opposed to this?
Right here.
I understand.
I haven't heard from anybody before this meeting, though.
Okay. I see we have a group of people, and I don't know if you're pro or con. Are there any residences on this property itself?
Not this property to be rezoned.
And where is the nearest residence?
Let's see, it would be,
Active residence.
let me zoom back up to the top.
Looks like this is just an open area.
Yeah, this particular one is, let me go, oh, it's being weird to me. I thought I had one that didn't have the zoning on it. So this is the closest house, but this is owned by the same owner.
Okay.
And the otherwise, you got housing along 6th Street, some along the north side of Quincy, and then over here on 4th.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that was 3rd, wasn't it?
Yes.
Could be.
'Cause that's-
Correct, 3rd.
That's where I
That's
live.
right. Yeah, 3rd Street.
So.
Okay. Any more questions? Well, we can open this for public comment now, finally at this time. Anyone want to go first? Start in the back.
I just wanted to make the commission, thank you, Pan. I'm the realtor involved in this transaction. We have both parties here, buyers and sellers. So if you have direct questions about the project or sellers' thoughts on the house being across the street, then they're here to give you their opinions directly.
If they're involved in the sale, I don't think they'd be opposed, would they? Is there anybody here that's not involved in the sale?
I guess I'm not. I've lived there for 35 years.
And do you have an opinion on the other?
Except the grandsons ain't gonna like not being able to watch the Cavs be born.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll miss it not being cattle over there.
If you're ready to.
Okay, well,
If you guys want to know kind of what our plan is,
sure.
feel free to ask. I mean,
Let's hear your plan.
yeah, so I'm Chris Pepper, was born and raised here. I'm trying to get back here. We found this property, we want to try to develop it a little bit. If you drive down there right now, all the way around is heavy wooded.
Yeah.
We don't have any plans to take any of that down. We don't want anybody who's got views around there. We don't want to kind of take the trees down. The trees are going to help block any kind of buildings that go up there. We're going to build, at least to start off with, at least one, maybe two, steel like Morton type style buildings that are going to be storage facilities. The entrance we'll have to the property will be coming in from 4th Street, where it dead ends right there. That the shop and the old milk and barns there will be taken down, of course. And the inside of the property will have to be cleaned up. But as far as the trees around the fence line, they're all going to remain. I don't want to take any of that out. I don't want to block anybody's views. So that's pretty much it. Just a plain Jane old storage facility. And yeah, so.
Do you plan on fencing
Yeah, we'll put security fencing in, but on the inside of the tree row. So you won't see any of that.
it? Do you plan at any point of building a residence there?
No. No, this is strictly going to be, we're only going to rezone the northern 5 acres of that for this project. The south 5 acres, we haven't really decided what we're going to do with it yet. If anything, maybe we'll run some cows out there, maybe we'll cut it off and sell it later on.
So
We
you
don't have
can,
any, because we just don't need all 11 acres for just a few storage.
but you are buying the whole parcel?
Well, yeah, we are buying the whole 11 acres, yes.
Okay. Karen, you're the seller? Who's the seller?
That's the burning.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Okay.
Vernon, Vernon Glennon.
Why I called you Karen, Berta.
I thought you said her.
So, I don't have any more questions, but you can't call
Yeah.
the vote in the public hearing to close the public hearing.
It's been a while since we've done this. I lost practice.
Yeah.
But I hear
Motion to close the hearing.
Okay, let's call for a motion to close the public hearing for comment.
I make that motion.
Okay, second, okay. Comments are closed.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Need to do a roll call on this.
Okay, well, we have to come out of the public hearing before.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. You're right. Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye,
Now I'm the one jumping in.
okay. Now you can call for it.
Josh?
I make a motion that we pass this rezoning at 425 West Quincy from R2 to C2.
A second.
Now I'll call for vote.
All right. So Lloyd Colston,
Yes.
Brandon Jellings,
Yes.
Kyle Lewis. Kyle, can you hear
Yes.
me? Okay. Dottie Smith,
Yes.
Yes.
Tom Wheatley.
Yes.
That passes.
Okay, do we need to separate vote on the conditional use permit?
Yeah.
for that?
And technically, you need to go through the process of the public hearing too, even if nobody has anything to say about it.
Okay, I make a motion that we open the public hearing to consider the advisability of granting a conditional use permit to allow a self-storage facility in a C2 restricted commercial district located at 425 West Quincy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You can handle it.
All right. So there's not a whole lot of things that I need to add. Basically, just to say that, again, a conditional use is required for that particular use in a commercial district. So I'm just going to this is all the same information. So I'm going to skip down to the bottom. So same sort of scenario, still a little bit of concern about it being in a residential area, but at the same time, I mean, even Mr. Befford kind of described what's actually going on in that area. Most of it is not residential right at the property, and I like how I explained that too. So staff, with that being said, would recommend that you go ahead and approve the conditional use with a couple of conditions, of course. We do have a section in the subdivision regulations, the section that's going to get moved when we redo our regulations. But right now it's in the subdivision regulations 13-702, and it has a listing of the different requirements for a self-storage facility. Let me see if I can scroll down to that real quick, because I have it in the packet what those requirements are. Almost there. Should have been scrolling before. All right. So it talks about stuff like they have to have off-street parking, which kind of goes with it. It's supposed to have fencing around it. He already mentioned that he's going to have fencing around it. The buildings, according to the code, are supposed to be compatible with the area. I believe what he described is going to be fine. The other thing is the way this is written, we try to focus the openings away from the residential areas and away from the road. I'll work with him to figure out what works best for that. But those are the requirements set up for that. The other conditions that I kind of suggest, and you don't have to go with these, but I would also add that we need to make sure that the drainage ditch is protected in that area. So however he does the site, we need to make sure that it doesn't make it worse. It's already really flat in that area, and so it doesn't drain really well. So we don't want to make it worse. So we'll put that in there. And then because sometimes this comes up with self-storage, we want to make sure there's no sort of outdoor, like none of his customers are working on their cars or anything out there, that sort of thing. Other than those, so that would be the three basic conditions that I would suggest. You can add, subtract, whatever you want to do from that, or just leave it the way it is.
Are they still making the whole storage facility concrete? I know it's killed a few projects in the past.
We are, no.
We talked about a lot.
And part of the reason I would say that in this case is it's served by a gravel road.
Okay.
So we don't even have to worry about the drive approach being concrete. Now, if he wants to do that, of course, naturally he can do it. But no, that's not going to be a requirement for this project. Other than they're really a little bit to meet parking requirements, but not much. Just an area for a couple spaces. And really just one.
Does everyone agree with the conditions the city has noted?
Yes.
Lloyd, Cody, can you see that?
Lloyd, are you,
I vote yes.
you're okay with those conditions?
No, we're just seeing if
As long as it's, I would like to hear from the property owner. Are they willing to be accommodated by those conditions?
Okay,
That's fine, that's fine.
okay, I'd like to make that, I'd like to open up the public hearing this
We have
time.
opened it, so now ask a couple of times.
Anyone want to comment?
I don't have any comment.
Are those conditions an issue at all?
If you can read that up there, Betty.
Well, it seemed pretty reasonable, yeah. We were concerned about the waterway there, the canal, and I don't think any of what we have planned is gonna interfere with any of that.
You'll be able to supply proper drainage.
Yeah, well, I mean, once we get the building, the contractors in there, we're gonna have to get it surveyed, get the dirt work done, and make it all right, so.
Okay. When do you propose to begin this project?
I mean, any contract we've looked at right now, if we said go tomorrow, it's gonna be 6 to 8 months out before any building can even begin.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be quite a drawn out process.
And you're looking to close the sale, the purchase of this soon?
As long as everything goes good here, the sale will go.
Okay,
Okay,
make a motion, we close the public hearing.
second.
And I lost audio and visual for a while. Can you repeat? Is the property owner willing to be accommodated by those conditions?
Yes.
Thank you.
You couldn't hear it, Lloyd, but the property owner did state he was
Yeah.
willing to abide by these conditions.
Thank you.
It's a roll call vote. So make a motion, that way.
I'll have a roll call vote, second.
Okay.
So Lloyd Colston,
Yes.
Brendan Jellings,
Yes.
Kyle Lewis,
Yes. Yes.
Dottie Smith,
Yes.
and Tom Wheatley.
Yes.
I will, just for reference, this does have to go before the city commission for their approval, and that will most likely happen at the first meeting in October. I think that's the 3rd, October 3rd. And I will coordinate with applicants about that date and confirm that.
This will put it back on the tax rolls, a higher rate.
Yeah, that's true, because right now it's just basically just agricultural.
Right.
Yeah, this comes to pass.
With that, okay.
All right,
Move on.
got one more item to do with?
Okay.
That's okay.
Let's see.
So at last month's meeting, we more or less finalized the changes to the subdivision and zoning regulations. We did talk a little bit about tiny homes and decided that we didn't need specific regulations for that. We needed to look at this is blank. This is not very helpful. We needed to look at the nonconformities. When I went back and looked at that and really spent some time looking at that, trying to figure out how to interpret it, I feel that I've been interpreting it incorrectly. I've been too strict on when a house can be built on a non-conforming lot. I believe, based on what I've determined, is that if the lot was subdivided or split prior to our subdivision regulations, which basically we'd go back to 2014 or so, if it was split before then, it was allowed to go into place before then it would be buildable. It would still have to meet setbacks. It would still have to meet the maximum lot coverage that's found in the residential regulations. So that, and if it can't meet that, then they'd have to get a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals. So if we have a case where it's currently a shotgun house on the property and it burns down, they want to put another one there, or they want to put a tiny home there, most likely that's not going to meet those requirements, so they would have to get a Board of Zoning Appeals variance. That would be great if we could get around that. I don't think it's reasonable to change the regulations to allow that. So those really small lots, we still should run through the Board of Zoning Appeals and allow that discussion to happen that needs to happen, because they're not going to be able to meet the minimums and separations and all that lovely stuff. So with all that being said, I'm suggesting that we just leave it alone, that article, not change anything, because I feel like the regulations are going to cover what I was intending to do, which was allow some of these substandard size lots according to our regulations to be built on. And that will help with some infill housing in a few situations. All for except those really, really small, like 25-foot lots or ones that maybe were split a little too small. Now we have, the Board of Zoning Appeals has granted a variance or two on a couple places where it's difficult to meet all these requirements, but it can be done in most cases. It just might be a smaller house instead of a day. But I did look at the most recent one we did on Jefferson. You'll probably at least have some recollection of that case.
Where is it, Jefferson?
It was like the 200 block of West Jefferson. It was over real close to where Woods is.
Okay.
That was approved by the board at that time. That particular case, the house today would be too big to meet those requirements. It was pre-existing.
Oh, I know what you mean, yeah.
But it could be built, just has to be a little bit smaller. So I use that as an example.
At what place in our zoning regulations or the comprehensive plan does shared driveways come in?
We have not specifically talked about the driveway place.
That is something that must be, we have quite a few of them, and I certainly don't want any more in the future. When they're out there, become a problem.
Now, I will say that technically, the argument could be made that you're not meeting the off-street parking requirements if you have a shared driveway. It would be incredibly difficult to argue that. So in a way, that kind of does that. But yes, I agree. We've had some problems. In fact, there's been some, not just shared driveways, but shared garages.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Now, those are slowly deteriorating and it comes to a point where that's not going to be
Yeah, there's
possible.
one on one, and I mean, there's several of those. Yeah.
Those would not be allowed today.
Yeah.
Without a variance, because there's supposed to be a setback between them, so it wouldn't be permitted. So with that being said, unless somebody has additional questions about those regulations or anybody here, I suggest that what we do is schedule a public hearing for the regulations at next month's meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay. And we'll do that. And what I'll do, I'll try to do what I did with the comprehensive plan. Get something out on Facebook, get something on the water bill, get a press release in the newspaper to try to encourage people to attend the public hearing if they have any concerns.
Do we need to address these other two concerns before that? The shared driveway and shared garages?
At this point, I think we probably should do that at a separate thing, just my opinion.
Separate meeting?
Yeah.
But you're gonna have a public meeting to get comment on what you're already proposing, and that will be in your proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't that be resolved beforehand?
If you want to, we could change some of the language up in the residential district regulations that more or less says that can't be. I can.
We've got a bunch of them grandfathered in, but
Right.
I'm sure they won't be new.
I can add a sentence in there. Now, by the time I advertise the public hearing, which is going to be in the next few days, I'll have to have that added in. So what I could do is put some language in there that talks about not allowing that use, and I will send that out to the planning commission.
Ask for, if there's anybody opposed, they should get hold of you.
I can hold off probably till Friday before I really need to get that notice in the paper. So I will work on that till tomorrow. Make sure I get that.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay.
Any other items you want to discuss?
No? Anything more from you?
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned for
All in
September.
favor?
We all in favor again?
Aye. All motion.
Okay.
I've just been.
That's fine.